So hey everyone and welcome back to my video series. This is Shraddha and you're watching Unique Chat BBR. So as today is another BBR Sunday and today I have a video which comes from the playlist of how to learn any language on your own. Now as you can see on the screen here, we've already completed few of those language learning videos. The first one was how to learn any language on your own. They were some of the best tips I've given. And also the second one had the self-study video of how I self-study German. Now the next, if you have watched all of these videos, you must be knowing that I'm currently learning Korean and German. So self-study German is already done. So today presenting for you how I self-study Korean, because that is what is the remaining part of that whole self-study one. Okay, so in today's video I'm going to give you all some of the real life conversation best hackers that would actually hack your that conversation into a really very fluency in that particular language, and what actually needs to be the building block of our language. So quickly, let's get ahead. So how I self-study Korean is Avish. So let's start the video in a switch. So it all just depends upon all of you. Like, what is your timing of learning a language? Now first of all, it is that when we were really very young, we were actually wanting a language to let communication begin, and that's why our brain learned a particular language which we call as our mother tongue. Now our brain can learn a language anytime and in any age, so it doesn't matter that you are too old or too young to start up a language. Now it just totally depends upon you about how easily and rapidly you can grasp up that language. But first of all, try to first take in which language do you want. Like, there are so many, like Danish, French, Korean, German, Spanish, Mandarin Chinese, or maybe Cantonese Chinese, Japanese, and much more. Now what the second step goes for its writing skill, and then go for its 5 basic words. That's what we got in the most basic converse and concentration. Okay, so what next does it come? So today I'm going to give you all some of the real facts and some real conversation boosters that will help us in those sort of tips of languages, and also give us how to learn that language. Now it can't be like only Korean. You can learn German, Japanese, any language with these top easy and smart tips. So quickly, let's move to the next. So the first tip I have is active research program or plan, because to do something we first need a plan in our hand. So this is a plan which I use every day. The first is learning a language. Now as we've got that we can learn a different type of language. Now what here comes is we go through many apps and websites, and what happens is there are some of those robotic and fixed responses we get, and we are just like, we just follow the textbook full of those robotic responses and we are just giving like a test. But that just sounds like it's a robotic response when we just repeat what we just learned. So the main part of that realistic action research program plan is that first of all, get in the grammar and the main part, because it just happens a lot of times, even for the young and the fast learners, that whenever we get on for just one or the two other sentences, we just start by just learning those sentences and just get on with those. So the plan which we have is action research plan or program that we have made. So now it does happen that whenever we are learning a language, we need to actually use it in our real life conversations, because what happens is we have a textbook, for example, and we just swallow such robotic expressions in there and just use them in our conversations. But what happens is actually they sound like they are just robotic expressions or responses we are giving out. So this is not actually a smart way to master any language, because we just know that particular sentence and when to use it like that way. Now what active and research learners do is they first go in deeper with the language, like what are the language tips, what to do with the language and everything. So what first thing you have to do is, first of all, keep that textbook aside and go for the real native speakers, like what they speak. So first of all, the first building block here is the words. Now do you know that words are the main building blocks for any language? About most common 100 words make for about 50% of all your communications. 1000 words will make about 80%, and 3000 words will make about 99% of all of your those detailed conversations. So what you have to do is, when you're going to listen to the native speakers, first of all, get in the vocabulary of 100 most common words. Now there is also one remember thing here that I have noticed, and the research also says that a lot of learners, what they do is they are just like a lot excited to learn the language, and what happens is they just read a lot of words at a time and try to learn them. The next day or in a few days we are actually blank about even one word. So make it really slow and be comfortable with the language. After completing those 100 or 200 most common words, your language will leave you in an epiphany. Now after you complete them whole comfortably, it's time for some easy grammars, idioms, some jokes and some ideas to understand in it. Okay, so there are various different types of levels also in learning. Like the first is beginner. First of all comes absolute beginner, means you don't know anything, just 2 or 3 words in that language. The next is beginner, means you know a lot of words in it. The next is intermediate, it means you can actually form sentences and get on properly. Advanced is you can totally understand everything, and upper advanced is like you can understand every single thing in that whole language. Now I want to give a shout out to a free app which I have really discovered and used a lot of times to learn my Korean and a lot of languages. Now it is MEMRISE. Now first of all, I would just really love to give a notification here that this video is not a sponsored video, and all the apps, websites and links I'm gonna tell in this video are going to be from my 100% opinions. Okay, so the app I have is MEMRISE. So it is a really cool app which just gives us a lot of short clips of the native speakers speaking in that language. It also has a lot of Indian languages like Marathi, Hindi, Sanskrit, English and various different types of languages. And what the feature here is, it can also be optimized or it can also be used on computers, PCs or laptops, and it's just really cool. It gives us really fun quizzes and tests to test whether which level we are and how we are learning and how is the progress going. And the native speaker speed is the most important, because a lot of times in various apps and websites we find it a little bit of slow, and that is how we learn that the speed must be slow. But in this app they show how fast they speak, like what is the range of speaking in real life. So this does help. So yeah, if you want to really learn daily conversations and daily real life speaking skills, go and check out for this app. It's a lot free at first. Yeah, it's really free. If you're going to spend at least 15 minutes a day, you're going to be a decent speaker, because it's all up to you to learn a language. You can learn a language in 1 year, 6 months, 1 week, 15 days or even just 15 minutes a day. So it's all over to you to get to a decent level. Okay, so now as we've got a lot into the basics of how to learn and crack any language, now it's upon the writing skills. Now I also have an awesome app which I have already introduced in my previous videos, but it is really updated. Now first of all, go in for the language you are learning. For example, I'm learning Korean and German. Now for German, its writing script is just the same as English, just there are 4 special words or different types of letters, and Korean is totally different. Now it is also said that Hangul, which is the script of Korean, is considered as the world's sort of easiest writing system, because it's just really so simple to write down. And they also have a national holiday celebrated, which is on 9th October every year on the account for Hangul. Now what you have to do is you can just search for whichever writing script you have for your language. For Japanese they have 3 scripts, for Mandarin Chinese they have a lot of tones and scripts, like that way. Now one app that can really help us a lot in learning the scripts, it's called DUOLINGO. Yeah, it's really updated, and now in Korean I received and got out a notification that there's also a script writing format, that it gives us different types of letters in different categories and tells us to form words anew. We can also repeat it and learn the Hangul in a better way with more of those tones and everything. So if you want to really learn about all of these basic things, it also has some tests to test whether on which level you are. It is also on computer, PC or laptop, and also in your smartphone. Okay, so one more app I have here is, now first of all, in our previous videos I have given a lot of tips on using flashcards, but if you just really don't have that time to make those flashcards and just use them, we have a digital option. Now today I'm going to introduce you to an app called DUOCARDS, and I've really discovered it in a really awesome way, and it just helps out so much. Now it has some of those digital flashcards which have some of the Korean romanizations and Korean Hanguls and more of those Chinese and Japanese ones, and what you have to do is just guess out what is it. Once you click it, it will show you the romanization and the answers, and if you know it, swipe for right don't know it, swipe for left, and it will make you into a practice. Now one more thing here is it also has a lot of different types of parts, like for learning grammars and everything. Now it also has a part called as sort of K-pop, and if you're learning Korean, it's sort of K-poply done, and there are some of the K-pop songs, and when the song plays on, it highlights the lyrics in Korean, so you can just quickly get on what the K-pop is saying. Now there are also some of the English songs which have Korean lyrics in that whole app. So you can go for the 3 apps I've told right now. Is DUOCARDS, MEMRISE and DUOLINGO, the best apps ever. And the one website and link I always recommend is KoreanClass101.com. Just awesome link. There are also some of the more from those innovative languages. You can find it in the description box. I've given the link for it. Okay, so now let's move to the next. The next part is which we can just really not ignore, which is watching some series in that language. If you are learning Chinese, you can watch some Chinese series. There are some Chinese dramas they called as. There are some of the recommendation I'm gonna give. The first is Meteor Garden, then Falling Into Your Smile, and Hello Mr. Gu, which and Go Sweet, which I sort of know. And if you want to watch some of the Korean series which they saw as Kdramas, I also have some recommendations for you, which is Descendants of the Sun, that is DOTS as they say, the HEIRS, Boys of Flowers. They can also say VINCENZO. We also have Legend of the Blue Sea, King, the Eternal Monarch, Goblin, and My Roommate's GUMIHO. There are so many more to learn and pronounce properly with the native speaker speed. So you can just watch them on Netflix, or there's also an app I've heard a lot about, iQIYI. There's an app, you can also watch it, or it's also free on for YouTube if you just really find them. Now you can if you're a K-pop fan, because a lot of times we have some motivations, right, to learn a language, and I have got to see a lot that learning Korean or any other language, it relates with some songs that is of K-pop. And the one most trending is BTS. So if you also watch it like that way, if you just stand, what you can do is there's also a series called as Run BTS, where there's like a sort of a conversation and some shows, and you can also learn Korean with it. There are also some German series with those German songs and everything, so you can go and quickly watch it. There are also some English ones, so yeah, don't forget to watch it up. So now let's move to the sort of last part of our video, which is some of those Korean basic sentences which I have learned in my whole journey. This is how I have turned out to be my Korean and my language skills. Now if you want to see how my journey is going on, we are also going to release a very sort of detailed video on how I self-study German, sort of part 2, because we have part 1 released, so you can see on the screen here. And so yeah, let's move to some example sentences and how my journey is going on, how it's improved. So if you are in a conversation and if you want to really introduce yourself, the first things you have to say is 안녕하세요, 제 이름은 ශ්‍රද්ධ아입니다. 어서 반가워요, and 어떻게 지내세요. So this means hello, I'm Shraddha, or my name is Shraddha, nice to meet you, and how are you. Now let's move to some of the basic phrases, random ones you can ask and say. If you want to say happy birthday, it's going to be like 생일 축하해요 or 생일 축하해. If you want to say congratulations, you can say 축하해요 or 축하해. If you want to say sorry, the main form is 죄송합니다, or it can also be 미안해요. Now if you want to say thank you, it is 감사합니다, or it is 고마워요. So if you want to say stop it or enough, you can say 그만해. If you have to ask how much is it, you can ask it with 얼마요. If you want to answer with yes, it can be 네 or 예. And if you want to say 아니요, that is for no. Now as if you just really want to state a sort of phrase or a thought, like 해안이 보이지 않는 것을 이교의 용기가 없다면 절대로 바다를 건널 수 없다. It just means you can never cross the ocean unless and until you have the courage to lose the sight of the shore. And there are many more such phrases, like if you want to ask someone when is your birthday, you can ask it with 생일이 축하해요 or 생일이 언제예요. Now 생일 축하해요 means happy birthday, and 생일이 언제예요 is your, like when is your birthday, like that way. 언제 means when, and 생일 means birthday, like that way. So you can just construct some sentences. Now I'm not gonna make the video more bigger because I have so many of such K-dramatic sentences and so many of such sentences I have made. So yeah, now that was all from me for all of you today. I do hope that you just really love this video and this concept, and of course I'll be back with more of such book reviews and languages videos because I have so many of them in my list, and I also have so many of the Korean and German phrases in my list. So yeah, don't forget to stay tuned for our next video on next Sunday at sharp 5 p.m. IST, and also some of the KST and GMT timings are linked in the description box and also in the comment section. Don't forget to check out the resources I've given. They're sort of all free without any sponsored content. Hope you just enjoyed this video, and let's hope, I'm fingers crossed for both all of our language learning processes. And so please don't forget to subscribe our channel. And so happy watching, happy learning, and unique readings.